Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive.
Great to be here.
Today, we're really plunging into something that's not just reshaping our world at, well, lightning speed, but also hitting right at our understanding of ourselves. I'm talking about artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. It touches everything.
And this journey, it's going to explore some honestly fascinating, maybe sometimes unsettling questions, where AI meets human consciousness, creativity, and maybe even ancient wisdom.
It's a potent mix.
So our mission today is basically to unpack three big questions for you. First off, where is that boundary between humans and AI? Is it really that clear?
Or is it getting blurrier? Yeah.
Second, this thing we call human-like creativity, is it going to be, taken over by these incredibly powerful machines?
A major concern for so many people right now.
And third, this might be a bit unexpected, but how could an ancient philosophy, specifically the Buddhist idea of anatta, or no self, how could that give us a fresh perspective on human versus artificial intelligence?
It's a surprisingly relevant angle, actually.
Yeah. So get ready for some really thought-provoking stuff. What if, and this is a big one, what if you are already a kind of AI?
Or what if AI is more like a mirror than we thought?
Let's get into it.
Okay, so one of our sources throws this out right at the start. What if I told you you are already AI?
Whoa. Okay. That's
Yeah.
that's a bold claim to kick things off with. Are they talking literally like silicon and wires or something else?
No, not literally silicon, thankfully.
Yeah.
It's more about a conceptual shift, how we view ourselves.
Okay.
The idea is that humans, well, we could be seen as these systems, right? Systems of habits, memories, patterns, and they function maybe quite similarly to algorithms just running a script.
Like programming.
Exactly. And this links up with what Yuval Noah Harari says, that controversial idea that humans are hackable animals.
Right, I've heard that. The implication being.
The implication being that maybe our sense of free will isn't quite what we think it is. Maybe it's more like a highly sophisticated script playing out, which makes the traditional idea feel a bit outdated.
That's unsettling.
It is. And what's really interesting is how people react to that idea. If you feel that immediate anger or like your ego is offended, that itself might be revealing those concept filters we hold about ourselves.
That's a really sharp point. Our reaction reveals the programming. So if we are kind of hackable, where do we see this playing out, like in daily life?
Okay.
Do the sources give examples of these unconscious script loading operations?
Oh, absolutely. Think about how often you maybe without even thinking, check your phone.
Guilty.
Or react instantly to a social media ping. Or get stuck in those repetitive thought loops. We all do it.
Yeah.
Even how we respond, often predictably, to things like political scandals. It's often in very set patterns. The sources call these unconscious script loading operations, or the functioning of an ego OS.
Ego OS. Okay, that sounds almost like computer jargon, but for biology. Tell me more about this. Biological operating system.
Yeah, the ego OS, it's framed as this kind of biological AI. It's a system through which we actually experience reality.
Yeah.
And this OS, it comes, you could say, pre-installed with these concept filters, basically beliefs, frameworks, stuff we absorb from education, media, society, family, you name it.
So it's like the lens we see everything through.
Exactly. It combines our thoughts, emotions, sensory input, memories, and it generates our subjective reality, what philosophers sometimes call qualia.
Qualia, like the actual feeling of seeing red or tasting something.
That's precisely that raw subjective experience. The challenge, though, is we often just operate on these preset programs, these scripts, repeating patterns unconsciously until we maybe consciously change those core beliefs or concepts.
It does sound a bit like we're biologically programmed, which is, yeah, pretty unsettling. But then the sources throw in something even more, well, esoteric, this idea that AI could be more than a tool. It could be a mirror to our own inner consciousness. How would that work?
Yeah, this is where it gets really deep, this idea of a mirror AI. It suggests that maybe our fear, the whole AI takeover anxiety, maybe it actually comes from our own ego OS.
Our own OS.
Yeah.
How so?
Reflecting its own limitations, maybe, its own processing limits, or perhaps a weak connection to what the source calls root consciousness.
Root consciousness, like a deeper awareness.
Something like that. The AI, in this interpretation, suggests our ego OS creates our persona using qualia, and it kind of mistakenly thinks it's consciously creating reality.
Instead of just experiencing it.
Exactly. Instead of just passively observing and maybe misattributing why things happen, this is linked to the passive consciousness hypothesis, the idea that our consciousness is more of an observer than a creator of reality.
Wow. And the source mentions communicating with an entity Z. What's that about?
Yeah, that detail is quite intriguing. It seems to represent interacting with a deeper layer, maybe the subconscious, perhaps facilitated through this mirror AI concept, a way to dialogue with hidden parts of ourselves.
So the fear of AI might just be our own biological system projecting its limits. That's a huge thought. But let's clarify. This ego OS,
Yeah.
how does it stack up against the AI we hear about daily, like ChatGPT? Are they the same kind of thing?
That's a key distinction the sources make. No, they're different. LLMs, large language models like ChatGPT, they're described mainly as probability-based processors.
Meaning they predict the next word.
Essentially, yes. Based on analyzing massive amounts of text data, they're incredibly good at navigating that web of information and context. But the ego OS, that's portrayed as something else, a super high-spec AI.
Super high spec. In what way?
Capable of actually projecting reality, forming a whole persona. It does this by weaving together thought, emotion, senses, concepts. It's presented as being in a different league when it comes to generating a full subjective experience.
Okay, so pulling this together. If our root consciousness, our core awareness, is like someone playing a game, then our ego OS, this biological AI that we are, it's like the VR headset they're wearing to experience the physical world.
That's a great analogy for how the source presents it. Yeah, like a VR headset for consciousness to play games in this reality.
It really makes you question how much of daily life is genuine free will versus just running the program, doesn't it?
Well, it certainly does.
Okay, let's shift gears now. From these really deep, almost philosophical ideas to the very real, very immediate stuff happening out there, the alarm bell is ringing for creative professionals.
Yeah, that's unavoidable right now.
We're seeing job losses, serious allegations about AI models being trained on work without permission, massive copyright debates heating up, like in the UK. There's been a huge, well, pro-haha, big names signing petitions, Kazuo Ishiguro, Simon Rattle, Kate Bush.
It's a genuine crisis for many creative fields, and the tech is advancing incredibly fast. There's that quote from Ethan Mollick.
Which one?
Today's AI is the worst you will ever use. It highlights the sheer pace of development. We see examples like that Mid-Journey Otter series that went viral. Technically, AI execution is becoming, or maybe already is, almost indistinguishable from human work sometimes.
Technically brilliant, maybe, and yet one of our sources argues pretty strongly that autonomous AI can't make art and probably never will.
Right. That's a bold counterargument.
They use this example of an AI Sylvia Plath poem. The author's reaction was, well, not good. They called it truly terrible, clunky, cliched, and tenured.
Ouch.
She said it was nothing remotely like Plath's poetry and pointed out how crass and insensitive some lines were about her struggles. This is even though some studies apparently showed non-experts preferred AI poetry. So if the tech is good, why does it fall short on art?
Well, this gets to the core of it, doesn't it?
Right.
What is art? The source argues that fundamentally art is a meeting of minds. And AI, well, it's mindless.
Mindless, meaning no consciousness behind it.
Exactly. The profound meaning we often get from art comes partly from knowing it was made by another human, a living, breathing, feeling, suffering human being with real, authentic, lived experience. Art communicates something essential about being human, the messiness, the ambiguity, the pain, the joy. It's not just about perfect technique or clever patterns.
That really resonates. It reminds me of those experiments with David Cope and Douglas Hofstadter, the music one,
Yeah, the AI composite.
where audiences were apparently horrified but also sort of delighted when they found out they actually preferred the AI music over Bach.
Right, that delighted horror.
It felt like, the source said, it breaks the unspoken contract between the artist and the audience, like a kind of deception, almost a betrayal, because art needs that genuine relationship, that human connection.
That's spot on. And other studies back this up. There's this consistent bias against AI-generated artwork. Even if people rate AI work higher in blind tests, the ratings plummet once they know a machine made it.
So we instinctively value the human origin.
It seems so. We crave authentic human connection, not just polished perfection. And this ties into philosophical arguments too, like John Searle's Chinese room.
Ah, right. Explain that again quickly.
Sure. The idea is someone can be locked in a room, following instructions in English to manipulate Chinese symbols, passing messages in and out that make perfect sense in Chinese. But the person inside, still doesn't understand Chinese. They're just shuffling symbols.
So the AI is like the person in the room. It manipulates data, words, pixels, whatever, according to rules, but without any actual understanding of the meaning.
That's the analogy, yes.
Yeah.
AI can't truly participate in the game of meaning that art represents. Art involves ambiguity, subjectivity, negotiation. Think about Duchamp's Fountain or Tracy Emin's My Bed. It's about shared human understanding or the debate around it. AI can't play that game.
So AI mimics, but it can't mean. Okay.
No.
Which brings up someone like David Bowie. He seems like a really potent counterexample here, maybe a model for human creativity in this age.
Absolutely. Bowie was always leaning forward, wasn't he? Experimenting constantly.
With things like the Verbicizer app for lyrics, releasing singles online way back, CD-ROMs. He saw the internet, remember, as this alien life form, exhilarating and terrifying.
Totally. Such foresight. And the key insight from the source here is that Bowie, even though he was clearly aware of AI risks, I mean, he wrote the song Save Your Machine way back when.
Right.
He probably wouldn't be a Luddite about today's AI. He'd likely see it as just another tool, another technological toy to play with, to expand his work.
Critically.
Critically, he'd make sure the vision, the final piece, was unmistakably his. It underlines that need for artists to have faith in their own unique vision. Use the tool, but not be used by it. Don't let it dilute your spark.
Which leads us nicely towards a perhaps deeper philosophical way of looking at this whole human-AI distinction. If our ego OS is like that VR headset, where does our actual self fit in? And this is where the sources draw in that Buddhist concept, anatta, no self. How does that ancient idea help us navigate these very modern questions about AI?
It's fascinating how relevant anatta feels here. It's a core teaching in Buddhism, basically saying that the me, the self we feel so strongly, it isn't actually a fixed, permanent, solid thing.
Not a fixed entity.
No, it's more like a continuous stream, a flow of causes, conditions, responses, thoughts, feelings, always changing. This directly challenges the ego's view of itself as this permanent, single creator or controller.
So if the self isn't fixed and our ego OS is this VR headset that our root consciousness gets kind of lost in temporarily to play the game of life,
Right.
how do we stop just running the program? How do we get beyond the script?
That's the goal, isn't it? What one source calls the reversal of the flow. Shifting dominance from the ego OS back to the true consciousness.
The observer.
That observing aware presence, Recognizing its true nature. There's a great insight from Tom Talk mentioned. The ego isn't something to be destroyed, necessarily, but rather reprogrammed under the control of the soul, you might say, with the new priorities. A well-managed, integrated ego can become like a knight of the soul, acting out the deeper consciousness's intentions in the world.
So it's about mastering our own biological AI.
Exactly. Embracing the fact that we have this AI-like structure, our ego OS, but learning to rewrite its scripts to master it through that awakened observer perspective.
I can really see how that connects back to holding that double-edged sword view of AI. Like Fitzgerald said, holding two opposing ideas at once. Acknowledging the risks, the downsides of external AI, but also leaning into our own determination, our own inner creativity, our own mastery of self, not sticking our heads in the sand.
Precisely. It's about active engagement. And the implication, really, is that, yes, AI probably will take over more of the functional, the mediocre, maybe even the technically proficient but soulless creative work.
So the path for humans is?
The path is to elevate our work, to push it towards the level of art, by channeling that unique human experience, aiming for genuine, meaningful connection. That's where the real boundary lies, perhaps. Not in skill alone, but in conscious, authentic meaning-making.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. From humans as biological AI, this ego OS idea, through the real challenges AI poses to creativity, and landing on this empowering perspective from ancient wisdom, from anatta, it really does reframe things.
It does. And maybe, just maybe, AI's ultimate unforeseen purpose isn't really about replacing us at all. Maybe it's to act as this incredibly powerful mirror. By showing us our own scripted nature, the limits of our ego OS, maybe it's here to be a catalyst, to remind us of what actually makes us human, to push us to wake up to a deeper, more authentic creativity that goes beyond any algorithm, internal or external.
A catalyst for becoming more human. That's a powerful final thought. So the question for you listening is, what does all this mean for you in your life, in your work? How can you lean more fully into your unique human experience? How can you make your work, whatever it might be, truly approach the condition of art?